I got to tell you, as a photographer, I am frustrated. I'm frustrated because for the last 14 years, I have been photographing people 5 feet in front of this thing. And what I get in return is, oh my gosh, I can't stand my face. My nose is so huge. My face is so round. I look so old. What are all those wrinkles? Tell me, is it really that hard in our society to feel good about our appearance? We have been saddled at birth with whatever it is we got, this is it. And we have the ability to choose how we feel about it. I want you to think for a moment, I want you to think about your relationship with your appearance. We all have a very distinct and unique relationship with our appearance. You are the only one capable of deciding how you feel about this operation that you're running. And here's the crux. Believe it or not, we all have a gap between the way we see ourselves and the way the world sees us. For some, the gap may be very small. For others, there may be no end in sight. How do you think the world sees this woman? I was pretty psyched to have her in front of my lens. During the editing process, she turns to her husband and she says, honey, I can't stand my face. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not something that a photographer wants to hear. What am I supposed to do with that information? Not to mention, this is Miss Universe. It was at that moment that I realized we all have a gap between the way we see ourselves and the way the world sees us.
So if Miss Universe isn't satisfied with her appearance, what hope is there for the rest of us? I first met Peter about 18 months ago. We were both doing some work for Microsoft, and the client, as a sweetener for me, arranged for Peter to take my headshot. I was traumatized. He takes pictures of celebrities and Miss Universe. I immediately began to think of ways I could avoid the shoot. I could get sick. I could miss my flight. I could develop a mysterious skin condition. As a psychologist, I'd love to tell you that I could use one of the many stress management techniques to cope with my stress. But if I'm honest, I just couldn't think of a good enough excuse to avoid the shoot. I endured.
She pulled through.
Thank you. The thing was that I enjoyed the experience. I was surprised how happy I was with the photographs. But I was left with a number of questions. The first was, why did I feel so vulnerable even before I got in front of Peter's camera? The second was, what happens to people when that inanimate object is pointed in their general direction? And the third was, what did he do to quieten my internal critic? And was there something we could do together that could make people feel better about themselves, period? As human beings, we're both attracted and repelled by our appearance, and the choice we embrace depends upon our level of self-acceptance, or the size of the gap between who we feel we are and who we really are. The camera shines a spotlight on that gap. We live in a fault-based society. From an early age, we're taught to look for our imperfections, to seek out where we fall short or should be doing better. So the larger the gap between who we think we are and who we feel we should be, the more likely it is we'll feel badly in front of a camera. In this way, the lens becomes an extension of our harshest critic, ourselves. As Peter said about Miss Universe, no matter how great the picture or how beautiful the subject, it's our self-perceptions that determine our levels of how we appreciate ourselves, our level of self-worth. For some people, standing in front of a camera elicits feelings similar to the imposter syndrome. The fear many of us have that we'll be found out, that somebody will come, tap us on the shoulder, and say that they made a mistake hiring, promoting, or just being friends with us. To avoid being found out, we act out. And Peter and I have discovered a number of different behaviors that people adopt to cope with the experience of being photographed.
Some own it when they get in front of a camera. They're grounded, they're confident, they're happy being visible. Some pose becoming something other than themselves. Others diminish, they become smaller, trying to hide from the camera. The last group are the avoiders. I like to call them runners. They don't want to be anywhere near this thing. They just want to run. The way we try and cope with the camera is pretty much the same way many of us try and cope with life. We either own it, pose, diminish, or we run. So I had a friend come into the studio, and he acknowledged to me that he had what he termed as PAS, Picture Avoidance Syndrome. Some of you may be able to relate. It kind of looks like this. So the question I have is if we are saying people are so fearful of being in the front of a camera, why the heck are people going so nuts with selfies these days? I mean, you have a big problem being in front of that. No issues being in front of this. Hey, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. So what's the reason behind this? How come people behave that way with selfies? It's because once you have decided to take the picture, you've already broken through the PAS barrier. You are in control. It's not like the phone is going to critique your appearance. There's no critique app in here that all of a sudden starts berating you the minute that you pointed at yourself. At least I haven't seen the iPhone 6 yet. But with this, when I'm behind this, it's a different ballgame. Now, who's in control? Oh, you like that, huh? Good, that's it. This is disturbing, isn't it? This is a different ballgame. How many people are saying to themselves, I hope he doesn't point that thing at me? Oh my gosh, I can see every nook and cranny on your face. I think I'll pass it back to Anna.
Okay. So what if we could use this visceral response to reframe the way we think and feel about ourselves? What if rather than judging the surface, our big ears, big nose, crooked teeth, we use the face as a gateway to the psyche, as a way to identify our substance, the things about ourselves we should honor, cherish, and celebrate? Peter and I think we have a way to help people move from surface to substance and to bridge that self-acceptance gap. We call it psyphotology. It's a combination, guess what, of photography and psychology. Inspiration for the idea came from a fairly unusual place. Over 100 years ago, Louis Pasteur developed a number of different vaccines using a theory called safe attack. He injected microscopic amounts of diluted toxin like cholera or TB to vaccinate people and populations against disease. For us, in psyphotology, we use exposing people to being photographed, and we also expose them to their turning points and beliefs. Turning points are experiences we've all had that change the way we think, feel, and behave. They also have three unique characteristics. The first is they require us to make an unambiguous decision. The second is that decision cannot be undone. And the third is the course of our life trajectory is changed in some way on the basis of that decision. A great example of a turning point is when Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on the bus in Montgomery. Her refusal was an unambiguous decision. Her arrest meant the decision could not be undone. And based on that decision, the course of her life trajectory was changed significantly from a role as a secretary to being seen as the mother of the freedom movement. People have shared a number of different turning points with Peter and I, from having to cross a protest line to get to an abortion clinic, from running away from home at 16, and from leaving MIT just before they're about to get their PhD to create a startup in the Valley in California. We'd love you to think for a moment about turning points you may have had in your life. What decisions did you have to make? How did your life trajectory change on the basis of that decision? The other thing about turning points is they identify our beliefs, the engine room of our psyche, the core of our substance, the thing that makes me, me, and you, you. A way to identify beliefs we've found is to get people to complete this statement. I am a person who. Some examples are, I'm a person who is resilient. I'm a person who has courage. I'm a person who risks forward and makes decisions for the good of myself and my family. What's been interesting is, going back to Peter's frustration, we've never had anybody say, I'm a person who has a big fat head, or I'm a person who has crooked teeth. And I've never heard anybody talk about, I'm a person who is a failure. So we believe that taking a photograph together with an understanding of a person's turning points and beliefs shifts their perspective from judgment and criticism to a focus instead on the inner truth and self-acceptance. In this way, they begin to own their experience, not just in front of the camera, but in life.
So if the idea of psyphotology exposes our true self, that is precisely what I'm trying to get when I'm photographing people. If you were to be my next victim, all I want to get is the real you. I want to get a feeling from you, kind of like this. So if that's the playing field that we're playing on, that's true feeling coming out. I think the most fascinating thing to look at on the planet Earth is the human face. I do not care how you feel about whatever it is that you've got up here. I've photographed, every face I've ever photographed has beauty in it. And your beauty is different than your beauty, which is different than your beauty, which is different than your beauty. The beauty's always there, always. My frustration is that sometimes we can't see it. How we choose to walk in this body of ours is our choice. My thought is, why not embrace it? What other choice do we have? So for those of you that are having trouble seeing your own beauty, could you please just take a better look around for it? And when you find it, allow us to see it too.
Thank you.
Thank you.